Welcome, and thank you for being here with us tonight for our kindergarten information night. Now, I'll say right up front, we're about 150 days away from starting kindergarten. So there is a lot of time for questions and concerns. So please, we'd ask if there's any takeaway from this evening, it's that we are here. Everyone that's here present on the school team has sent multiple children through kindergarten. So we've had your questions. We continue to receive kindergarten questions, and we're ready and prepared and willing to answer any questions that you have. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're going to throw a lot of information at you tonight with the understanding that we're a ways away from the start, but we want to give you some information. We also want to answer the questions. We did receive a lot of questions over the last week or so, and we want to take this tonight, not only to present our information, but to answer some questions. So we're gonna try to do that. So welcome. This event is a little different. Last year, it's a little over a year ago, this event took place, and it was one of our final events before the COVID-19 pandemic began. So this is the first time that we'll be doing this virtually. We'll do our best to pass along some information. And again, it may not be as interactive as it is in normal times. This would be an event where you would get to meet our staff and mingle with our kindergarten teachers. So it's a little bit different, but we do have a meet and greet scheduled as school gets closer. We held the event off about a month later than we normally hold it, with the hopes that restrictions might lift to the point where maybe this could be in person later in the year. But seeing that gathering size limitations are still in place, as well as visitors to the school, we decided it was time to give you this information. So without any further ado, we're going to get started. My name is Michael Oates. I am the principal here at the Cedar School. This is my 7th year here at the Cedar School. I'm thrilled to be here. This is going to be, your children will be in the 3rd class of the Cedar School, where we have been a pre-K, K, and 1 school. So we are the only show in town for kindergarten. We are anticipating 9 or 10 sections of kindergarten next year. And we couldn't be more happy to be welcoming you, your family, your child into our kindergarten next year. The purpose of this evening is to introduce our team, to answer some questions. Some of the topics that we'll cover, we'll talk about the screening days, our class assignments, our visiting day. We'll talk about the first day of school, the bus, our positive supports program. We'll get into a little bit about our curriculum. We'll talk about how we communicate with families, our communication systems. We'll talk about volunteering at the school. You'll note in most of this presentation, we're planning for a normal start to the school year next year. So we're going to talk about volunteering and coming into the school and being a present and part of your child's education. We'll talk a little bit about school safety, and we'll talk about medical requirements and some of the things that the nurses asked us to throw in there. Of course, we'll talk about lunch, and then we'll cover any of the questions that we were unable to bake into the presentation. We'll answer some of the other questions that we received via your feedback. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Your child is entering the graduating class of 2034. Presently, there are 34 half-day students registered and 124 full-day students. In other words, 158 new friends for your children to meet this upcoming school year. We are down a few students from the last few years with registration, but we think it's just all part of the world we're in 2020 and 2021. We anticipate there are many more registrations on the way. We are planning for, again, either 9 or 10 sections of kindergarten with an average class size at around 20 students. I'm going to introduce you to our current kindergarten staff. So I'm going to go through. This is Mrs. Concannon and Mrs. Tucker. We have Mrs. Richardson and Mrs. Doherty. We have Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Dooley. We have Mrs. Driscoll, and she is here with Mrs. Ramponi. We have Mrs. Chandler and Mrs. Clasby, Mrs. Bartolotti and Mrs. Ryan, Mrs. Powers, Mrs. Chase and Mrs. Quilty, Mrs. Wyman and Mrs. Peterson, Mrs. McGuire, Mrs. Kanasowicz and Mrs. Buckley, and we have Mrs. Namika And some of you may know or know Mrs. Namika. Mrs. Namika chose to keep her mask on. Mrs. Namika is currently our virtual academy teacher for kindergarten and first grade. We also have our special education team, Mrs. Herbert, Mrs. Libby, and Mrs. DePhillips. We have two guests here. I'm going to stop for a moment. These are our reading specialists. This is Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Burns. And you'll notice Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Burns also appear in those tiny windows on the side of your screen. They're here with us tonight. They just had to be part of the kindergarten presentation and talk a little bit about the curriculum and academics. In particular, talk a little bit about literacy with you tonight. So they've joined us. They're a big part of kindergarten. We have Mrs. Roddy and Mrs. Goki, and we put Mrs. Roddy and Mrs. Goki. They should be at the start of this presentation because you'll be in contact with Mrs. Roddy and Mrs. Goki often, if you haven't already, to answer any questions, to gather paperwork. We've gone to a virtual registration this year, Registration Express, but I can guarantee you'll be in contact with Mrs. Roddy and Mrs. Goki as we get closer to the school year. We have Officer John. We cannot do a school presentation with kindergarten and not include Officer John, who is a good friend of our kindergarten and is often in our classrooms, hanging out with the students, leading lessons, or just joining them in their activities. We have our school nurses. So we are working with two school nurses this year. We have Mrs. Dowling, and we have her assistant, Mrs. Layton. And Mrs. Dowling is not here with us this evening. I have a few messages from her near the end of the presentation, but I do want to stress to everyone out there, don't hesitate to reach out to our school nurse now. We had some questions that came in regarding EpiPens and allergies and rescue plans. It's not too early to reach out to Mrs. Dowling. In other times where we would be coming into the school to hand in or pass along any registration materials, you would be talking to Mrs. Dowling and meeting with her then. So I really encourage you, if you have any questions or you have any thoughts, please reach out to Mrs. Dowling. It is not too early now. We have Mr. Langton, our PE teacher, Mrs. Thornton, and Mrs. Palmucci, our art teacher. Our kindergarten students, like our grade 1 students, 2, 3, and 4, they do go and enjoy specialists. So every week they will go to the art room, they will go outside or to the gym, and they will enjoy music in the music room. We also have included here, this is Mrs. Kelser, Ms. Busa, and Mrs. Dutton, who are our school psychologist, our special education team chair, and our math coach. Also big parts of kindergarten. Next two slides are the most important people. Our custodians, Mr. Blindstrom, Mr. Eccles, and Mr. Brown. And of course, our kitchen staff, Mrs. Atchison, Mrs. Coyne, Mrs. Richards, and Mrs. Wallace. Finally, this is Mrs. Dayhill. Mrs. Dayhill is with FACE. We did get some questions regarding FACE. FACE is our family and community engagement. It used to be CASE for Cedar, Family and Community Engagement. It's now FACE. It's a district-wide program. They also run our enrichment programs across town. So we had some questions about half-day kindergarten and the FACE program. What I would say is, and Mrs. Dayhill is not here with us this evening, what she's asking is please use the FACE website right off the Hanover Schools website and be in touch to reach out if you have questions about the programming, the hours, the times, what's available in kindergarten. Please reach out to FACE. And if you do have questions related to FACE specifically, you can also reach out to us. We work very closely with FACE. They're in our building. They're in our building during the school day, not just before and after. They're also work with our half-day kindergarten students that stay for the remainder of the day in FACE. So we work closely with the program. If you have questions, please reach out to us. All right, what's next? I'm going to, at this point, turn this over to Mrs. McLaughlin, who's the only person I haven't introduced so far, and that is our assistant principal, Mrs. McLaughlin, who's going to share some additional information with you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. So exciting. Kindergarten. I remember when both my children went to kindergarten. Oh boy, I feel like it was more important than college. It was so exciting. All right. So the big question about screening days. So we usually, typically screen our kindergarten students. We do it for a multitude of reasons. One, most importantly, is placement. It helps us do some great groupings and have the best classroom placements. So our screening days are typically in May. We have no idea what it's going to be like this year. We're going to keep you updated as soon as we can. But we're waiting to see about, whether we're going to do it outside, whether we're going to do it inside, if anything changes with COVID. So as of now, TBD on the screening date. However, once you do have your screening date, what you will do is you'll come in. It's about a half an hour long. Screening is about half an hour long, 20 to 30 minutes. One parent will bring the child, and the parent will fill out a survey while your student goes and hangs out with some fun teachers and plays some games. Basically, the screening looks at language, it looks at motor, reading, readiness tasks. We use the screening tool called the EasyR, and that's an early screening inventory. And basically what we do is we look at those results. We'll mail those out to you at the end of, before we leave school in June. And it helps us with placement. It also serves as a nice child find if we find that any student has any lacking deficits or delays, that we can keep our eye on students before the summer. So screening to be determined, coming up soon.
And then we move into some of the events in August. After the screening, some of the events in August, you'll see that teacher assignments are mailed out. District-wide, we've mailed out teacher assignments on or about the 15th of August. We have the all-important kindergarten play date. We are working on the date. It is typically a week out from the start of school. So we'll get that date out this year a little bit earlier than we were able to last year. We'll get the date out. The kindergarten play date, to answer, because we did receive some wonderful questions about the bus. The kindergarten play date will include the bus ride. So myself and Ms. McLaughlin will take some bus rides with students. We'll come in smaller groups. We're going to come in. The students will get a chance to play with their classmates. They'll get a chance to meet some of the staff, and they'll go on a bus ride with myself and Ms. McLaughlin. It's a short bus ride, usually over to the middle school or around the block and then over to the middle school. And on the bus ride, we talk about how great and how wonderful it is to ride the school bus. And we talk a little bit about what are expected Cedar super friend behaviors on the bus. Bus lists will be posted in the newspaper the week of 8/23 or August 23rd. And that's when you'll know where each stop is and what time the bus arrives in the morning for pickup and drops off in the afternoon. In September, as we start the year, we get to our visiting day. Visiting day for kindergarten this year will be on the 1st of September. It will be in the afternoon, and this is where you and your child will get to come to the school, visit the school, meet your classroom teacher, and meet your classmates. It's a big event. In the past, we've had some treats supplied by PTA after, and it's a really fun event, and it is a chance to meet your teacher, to come into the school, and to see the classmates and get excited for what is the next day of school, which will be on the 2nd of September. This year, we're getting started right away. We're going to get our kindergartners in school on the first day of school with all their classmates. We're ready. We're going to get all the preparations ready, and we're going to be ready to go. And it will be a full day of school for full day students and a half day for our half day kindergarten students. And then later in the month of September is our curriculum night, where you'll come into the classroom. This is a parent night where you come in. There'll be a school-wide meeting where information will be shared, and then you'll get to go into a meeting with the kindergarten teachers. And then finally, it concludes with a visit to your kindergarten class. And it's a really nice community night, but it's also a good chance to learn a little bit about the kindergarten curriculum. Now I have to put in here the bus because this is very exciting. Again, the routes will be posted late August. They'll be posted not only on our school website, but also in the Hanover Mariner. We check with the neighbor for neighborhood spots. We always recommend to check with the neighbor for your neighborhood spots now. There's the AM pickup and the PM drop off is in your neighborhood bus and at your neighborhood stops. But the kindergarten, the midday students, so anyone who is a half day student, that is a kindergarten only bus, and that will go directly to your home. So the only exceptions to that is there's a few cul-de-sacs where the bus company will work with you. They're not able to go down. But if you're a half-day kindergarten student, the bus goes right to your house, and it's neighborhood stops for all other students. And then as the transportation forms will be submitted in June, if there's information that you need to submit regarding transportation, we ask that you do that over the summer. And if you're not sure, just reach out to us. Anybody in our office can talk a little bit about where your neighborhood stop is and what we're anticipating for the fall so that we can predict and help solve any problems early before the routes are finalized. All right, turn it back over to Ms. McLaughlin, who's going to talk a little bit about our Super Friends and our positive behavior support program here at the Cedar School.
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics, of course, PBS, as we call it here at Cedar. So about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, the Cedar School, we embarked on a mission to create a school climate that would really benefit our youngest learners. We are an early childhood school now. As a school community, we recognize that being a lifelong learner requires more than just competence in reading, writing, and math. That children need the skills and the tools to become problem solvers, to build and maintain relationships, and we really want to work on those social emotional skills. So that's where PBS comes in. PBS refers to, technical phrase here, school-wide application of systems and strategic interventions, what we use at school to reach these goals. So as a 5 and 6-year-old would say, this is our PBS, our 3 rules. We're safe, we're kind, and we follow the plan. And basically that encompasses our whole entire philosophy here. The teachers all use the same language, the common language in all of their classrooms. And we use it in the office. We use it everywhere we go. And it's a very consistent way. It's very simple. Those 3 things: to be safe, be kind, following the plan. And that is how you become a super friend. And we call our Cedar super friends. We don't say boys and girls anymore. Everyone is Cedar super friends. And that's how we refer to them, because they are super friends. So basically, one of the most important components of this is the collaboration between staff and students and families. And one of our highlights is that we do a Super Friend at Home certificate. So we work alongside parents. So if they're being super friends at home, we acknowledge them at school. And the same thing, if they're super friends at school, we hope that you acknowledge them at home. So it's a wonderful program, and we're looking forward to having you join us with this. And you can even start the language now. It's very simple: to be safe, be kind, and follow the plan. If you start it now, they'll be good to go in September.
Thank you, Mrs. McLaughlin.
Welcome.
And now we're going to talk a little bit about kindergarten academics. And the emphasis in kindergarten for us is reading, writing, and math. Now, with reading, of course, we're reading also in other content areas like science and social studies. We also have a social emotional learning program that we use with our students. And we have other aspects of the curriculum, but the emphasis is on early literacy, writing, and math. So I have asked our friends, our reading specialists, to talk a little bit about literacy, both reading nightly, those high frequency words, books in print, and they're just going to talk a little bit about what does kindergarten literacy look like? Why is it so important?
Thank you, Mr. Oates. Hello, everyone. I'm Mrs. Anastasia Frank, Mrs. Frank, and I'm one of the reading specialists here at the Cedar. Reading instruction is one of our top priorities here at the Cedar School. We want to develop and preserve the love for reading from an early age. And we share the slide with you, not to only stress the importance of reading in your child's life, but also how reading impacts the development of other skills involved in future academic success, such as language, vocabulary, listening comprehension, and expansion of background knowledge. So to begin your child's literacy journey here at Cedar, we start with teaching the foundational skills in reading in kindergarten. This will include the use of Hagerty phonemic awareness curriculum. This helps to build your child's phonemic awareness skills. Now, phonemic awareness is the child's ability to recognize that words are made up of smaller units such as sounds and be able to hear them and manipulate them. That skill helps them to connect to reading and spelling later on. It is a very important skill for them to develop in kindergarten. Now, Foundations is our word study program. Your child will be learning that sounds are then represented by letters and that you can put those sounds together to read real words. You will see that skill grow throughout the kindergarten year. Oftentimes, after our first break, our winter vacation, students are motivated by the thrill of that new skill. They start to truly reading words, and you will be amazed at how far your children will come along in 1 year. Now, our reading instruction does not stop there. Students are then engaged in daily read-alouds and other activities with their teacher to help them build their language, vocabulary, their listening, and all those activities ultimately will lead to reading comprehension skills that will develop later on. So we're very excited about our reading instruction here at the Cedar School. And Mrs. Burns will talk about the importance of reading to your child daily, every night. Mrs. Burns?
Thank you, Mrs. Frank. This is such an exciting time in your child's life, and we want to make sure to let you know we're here to support you in any way that we can. And our connection with you and connection with school and home is so important. And what you'll find is part of some of the homework that the kids will do next year will be to read a little bit at home. And we can't stress enough how important that is and how impactful it is when you sit down with your child to read a book with them. And we just wanted to kind of take a look at this slide briefly just to show you just how impactful that really can be when you look at student A, who is reading for 20 minutes each day, and over the course of time, how that helps to contribute to their vocabulary and how that helps to contribute to meaning and making connections with text and the world around them. So it really is a special opportunity for them to learn and grow along with you. And you'll also find too that, you know, at the beginning of the year, you may be reading to your child, and reading can also encompass some of those fun things that Mrs. Frank was referring to for foundational skills. For instance, that time, that 20 minutes could include a rhyming game that you might play with your child, you know, or even if you're going for a ride in the car and maybe you can, you know, have a little rhyming game while you're driving, or ask them, you know, what's the first sound of a word, you know, and that really helps to build those skills that they have that will help them as they begin to become readers. And you'll see a big shift as the year goes on, and they'll start even reading to you. So those things, you know, even creating a puzzle at home with them, helping them, recognizing the letters and the sounds. So those are all fun ways, and we'll be participating in the open house night that Mr. Oates was referring to, and you'll be able to stop by our room. We always put out some fun activities that you can do at home with your students to help them as well build those skills. So it's an exciting time, and reading is just a special opportunity to bond with your child as well. So.
Thank you so much. And I will just put in a plug now. Please don't hesitate. We ask that you reach out to us with any questions, concerns, or what can I do next, or how do I prepare? Do not hesitate to reach out to us, both Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Burns. They are, in addition to our entire kindergarten staff, they're just another wonderful resource we have at the Cedar School. So now, what else do I need to know? We've added a few things here that are questions that have come up and things that we figure we'll get out there as early as possible. And the first one is the Quarry Check. We'll also talk about volunteering and our communication systems. Excuse me, the Quarry Check. Here in the Hanover schools, we ask that it must be completed for us. So if you coach in town, or if you work in the school system somewhere nearby, or many other roles, you may be completing Quarry Checks. We ask that we still include and still complete one specific for the Hanover Public Schools as a parent. You can pick up the form at school, or you can download it off of the Hanover Schools website. We do ask you to present form and a license in person. It has to be presented in person at our school office. It is good for 2 years from when it is submitted, and it can be completed at your screening. It can be completed at the orientation or the visit day. And if you plan to volunteer in our classrooms, on field trips and school events, you have to complete a Quarry form. It is not necessary to complete a Quarry form to attend a school event like a concert or field day. But if you are going to be interacting with the students, one example is we have parents who come in and help with costumes for Halloween. If you plan to come in and volunteer, that's a really fun one, and you want to be part of our parade, that is something that we would require a Quarry is filled out and done in advance. So we just always encourage our kindergarten parents who are incoming, just get it done, get it out of the way early so that you don't have to worry about that. The worst, and we've had to do it here and there, our top priority is your children's safety. And we have had times where a Quarry has expired or somebody thought they filled it out and didn't, and we haven't been able to let them go on a field trip or come and volunteer in a classroom. And as disappointing as for the big people, the adult that we have to turn away, it's even worse for the child. So can't stress this one enough. And Mrs. McLaughlin, want to talk a little bit about our opportunities to volunteer?
Absolutely. So many things to do in Cedar, especially next year, now that we're going to be letting, well, hopefully we'll be letting some big people back into our building. Besides the Cedar PTA, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide, we have classroom volunteers. You can volunteer in the library, you can volunteer for the art teacher. We also have a school council that you can volunteer to be on. There are also guest readers all the time at Cedar. That's one of the most fun things to do as a parent, is to come in and be a guest reader or a guest speaker about, if you're a community helper, things like that. So there's lots and lots of things. Let me highlight the PTA right now for you, though, because this is the biggest volunteer opportunities.
Ms. McLaughlin, can I just mention one thing really quickly?
Sure.
You mentioned guest readers. This year, something that's come out of this year, we are drawing all the positives on this year's experience we possibly can. And what we learned this year is to be a guest reader or to be a guest to do a project with the students. We can do that over Zoom. We can do that in our classroom. And it's created an opportunity for many of our working parents to stop into the classroom via Zoom and read a story to the class or do a project with the class. And it's really been something that this whole experience for the last year or so has opened our eyes to different ways to volunteer and different opportunities that are out there. So I just want to mention that as just one more way you can volunteer in your class. We encourage guest readers as much as we can. And that's a really nice way to come in and step in and read to the class. So sorry, Ms. McLaughlin.
That's okay. Mr. Oates, I was in a preschool class this morning and I had a preschool dad Zoom in and read to the preschool class. And he was at work in his office and you saw the things going on behind him. And it was so great. And at the end, he said, I would never, ever have been able to come into school, but I was able to do this. So good, very good point. And we hope to continue that next year. So the PTA, does so many things, and we need you. Boy, do we need you. I love this flyer. It says every hour of your time makes a difference, and it does. The PTA does so many things for our school. I mean, between the kindergarten play day, you have a slide, sorry about that. All right, so they put on the book fair. They do this big box top for education collection. We do pizza nights, science night and math nights. There's so much more. The holiday celebrations, the staff appreciation week. We volunteer at field day. We have a movie night, gingerbread houses during the day, helping for the Halloween parade. This year we created a new event called One Book, One School, where the whole school participated in reading a chapter book for the month of March. And then we had a great big celebration. And next year we hope to have more parent volunteers and more things happening in the school as a whole. So we'll need you for that. There's also the ability to be a room mother and or father or anyone, a room parent, I should say. And so that's a huge opportunity to become a part of the classroom, and they are so appreciated, and it is a great way to be involved. So the PTA needs you. They'll be around. They have a great PTA Facebook page. So if you're not on it, you can join it now. It's a great way. They get information out so easily. They also have their website, and you can, they'll be advertising between now and September. So they'll find you. Also, communication. Let's talk a little bit about our school communication. Mr. Oates, will you throw them all up there? Yeah. So there's a bunch of things that ways we like to share our information. And this year we've actually gained one huge one that I'm going to talk about. The first one, though, is the school website. And that's where you're going to get all the nitty gritty information. There's lots of tabs. There is a kindergarten tab, and it has information on there, any documents you need, things like that. School events, things, all those things are located there. The next one I want to talk about is Seesaw. Seesaw is our online platform that we've used this year, that we are going to continue next year. It's a wonderful communication tool. Parents have the ability to have an app on their phone. You can also access it online. And what it is that the teachers have this hugely quick way of sending you information. And the same from Mr. Oates and I. We usually send school-wide announcements on Seesaw. It comes right through on your phone. You can get it as a text, or you can check it. It's the teachers use it to share photos. I mean, they're sharing photos by the hour of student work, of student accomplishments. It's a fantastic way. So I highly encourage you, the fastest you can get signed up for Seesaw after your first day of school, the better, because you'll start receiving pictures right away and information. So keep an eye out for Seesaw come September. We also do a monthly newsletter. It's on a platform called S'more, and that will get delivered straight through Seesaw. So you'll get it through there. And in the newsletter, we highlight things that are happening this month, and we have links to different flyers, and we'll give you all sorts of our fun activities going on at Cedar on our school newsletter. We also send notices home via School Messenger. So it's another platform that sends out email messages. And you will also have you'll have access to your Aspen portal, and you'll be receiving your password for that, if you don't already have one, in August. And that is where you'll access things like your child's report card. And on top of that, besides Seesaw, your classroom teachers love email. They are great at phone calls. You can do Zoom meetings. Zoom has opened up a wide variety of ability to have a quick meeting. So they're on top of communication, and we encourage everyone to reach out with any questions, concerns, to reach out to your teacher, reach out to our reading specialist, our school psychologist, or Mr. Oates and I. Our doors are always open and our phones are always on. But I think you'll find the communication at Cedar is top notch.
Now, I know there's a lot of information on this slide, but do not worry. We make sure that we take it slow. We introduce you to each tool one at a time, and we make sure that we provide the support needed so that you're successful. In fact, we have one of our Seesaw ambassadors here on the call with us, Mrs. Burns, and we have others here at the school who are able to provide the support needed so that these tools become very comfortable to use. And most of this will all be received through your email anyway. So these are great tools on our end, and on the receiving end, a lot of these come via email, so we make it pretty user-friendly. Just seems like a lot when we go through it.
Yeah.
And this is an example of just a recent newsletter. And this is an example of the school website, which again, we encourage you to visit. And this is the kindergarten tab on there right now. My favorite, snack and lunch. As a kindergartner, the students do enjoy a small snack. It's a long school day. And whether you're a half day, it's a long half day. If you're full, it's a long full day. So we do make sure that we incorporate snack into their day. It is not a working snack. It is another chance for the students to socialize, to spend time with their peers, and just to develop a lot of those social skills like conversation. You know, and so we use snack and lunch. We view the cafeteria as a classroom, and we try to approach it that way, both in how we supervise it and the opportunities we present to students. Now, lunch is available every day for those who stay past 11:30. So for those of you who are opting for the full day kindergarten, we have lunch every day for the students. And for students, even for our half-day students, there is lunch on Tuesdays. So we make sure for our half-day kindergarten students that they get to experience going into the cafeteria, sitting in the cafeteria, and enjoying school lunch with their classmates. Unfortunately, this year, Cedar's a little bit different. So this year we are using the cafeteria as classrooms for 2 classrooms. So this year the students are eating in their rooms or outside. It's a very different experience. So we're thrilled next year to get back to a more traditional lunch for all of our students. Lunch price currently $2.75. Believe it or not, lunch doesn't have a price this year. Lunch is free for all across Massachusetts for all students. But we're assuming this is one of those, unfortunately, that might return to its old ways, and lunch is $2.75 per student. And we strongly recommend that you use the My School Bucks program, which is an online meal payment plan. We do not, kindergartners with real money in their pocket, in their backpack, can be problematic at times. So we encourage the use of this program. And we're here, we make sure everyone eats. So you never have to worry about that. We make sure that everybody has a snack and everybody has lunch. We all have that day where we leave the lunch bag at home or we forget our lunch money. So we make sure we take care of our youngest students. Now, I just want to move on, and this is quick. And again, Mrs. Dowling, I can't stress it enough. Please reach out, be in contact. If you have a concern, it's not too early to reach out to Mrs. Dowling. A few of the requirements is updated immunizations. And if you're looking for specifics, here we go. It's Mrs. Dowling. And you don't have to take that number down now. It's available through the school website, or just call the school main office number and we'll put you in touch. Also, we do need a copy of a physical dated between August 1st, 2020 and September 1st, 2021. And the physical exam must include an eye exam and lead level exams. Now I'm going to turn this over to Ms. McLaughlin to talk a little bit about 10 things or 10 ways you can get your child socially and emotionally ready for kindergarten.
Oh, this is my favorite part. So 10 ways. All right, there's 10 of them. I'm going to go really quick through them all so I don't bore you. But number 1, play outside. Get them out there as much as they can. This is the time. Get those motor skills going. They need to be ready for PE. They need to be ready for those playgrounds in school. So get them outside. Get as much nature and fresh air as you can. Number 2, this one's, I'm going to say it, limit that screen time. It's been hard for us at Cedar to limit screen time this year, but do your best if you can, limit screen time. They need opportunities to socialize and problem solve and play. Number 3, this is a big one. Kindergarten teachers everywhere want you to do this. Teach your child to wait. It's so hard, especially if you have a small family at home or a youngest at home. It's hard to teach your child to wait when they're sitting at the table and they want something. You go right over and give it to them. Of course you do. You're their parent. But thinking in the eyes of getting them ready for a kindergarten line that they have to wait in, or wait their turn to get their paper, or wait in line to get their snack or their lunch in the cafeteria. Thinking about that, teaching them how to wait, providing some opportunities for them to wait would be awesome. Number 4, this is a big one. Early, I'm going to say that for everyone. Early, consistent bedtimes. So these kindergartners, they're going to be tired. And I always put this on here because sometimes it's a myth when you hear a parent say, well, my child's been in daycare since they were, born, or since they were 3 or something like that. They're used to a full day. They'll be fine. They don't know. They've never been through full day kindergarten. Full day kindergarten isn't like daycare. Their minds are busy the entire time. They attend and they have to pay attention and they have to keep their bodies in control. It's exhausting for a 5-year-old. So keep those bedtimes early, consistent, and expect the first 8 weeks to be a little rough and have them be tired. So try to clear their schedules in the afternoon for the first 8 weeks if you can. Number 5, provide opportunities for your children to be bored. Again, there's that waiting part. They're going to have to wait for the bus line. They're going to have to keep themselves busy when they finish their work before someone else. And so giving them the opportunity to sit and think or count something or look at something or use their problem-solving skills is a great idea. We always want to fill our children's time, but try not filling it for a little bit for this summer. Number 6, encouraging those independent problem solving with peer and sibling conflicts. So when Johnny comes up to you and says, "Mom, my sister just hit me," instead of going straight to that sister and disciplining that sister and talking it through, ask your child what they could have done to handle it. Did you talk to her? Did you ask her why she did that? Things like that. Try to get some situations going that you're not solving the problem for your child, that you're having them work some things out with their siblings, and that will just better prepare them at the playground and in school. Number 7, this is awesome for math, especially. Play board games and card games. Our math curriculum is full of card games. We weave math into games all the time. A child should be able to look at a dice, see those 6 dots and say 6. That's called subitizing. So that is a huge skill. Get those dice games coming out. Then it also brings in that turn taking, and then let them lose. I can't tell you how many kindergartners melt down the first time that we play a game and that they lose because they haven't lost in a long time. So certainly let them lose if you can. Number 8. I already said this one, actually, keeping those schedules to a minimum in the fall because they're tired. Number 9, this is an interesting one. I want you to try your best to encourage some independence, developmentally, of course. Do what they can. They should be able to put on their coat, their backpack. They should be able to put on their shoes and take off their shoes. They should be able to open their lunchbox. They should try to be able to put the straw in their juice box or open their water bottle. Things like that are great to start practicing over the summer. I always tell parents the week before school, pack your child's lunch one day in the lunchbox they're going to use and sit down at the table with them and walk them through opening it up. You might find, they can't open that Tupperware container. I'm not going to send that, because you have to figure we do only have one adult for those 20 children. So opening all their things by themselves will only give them opportunities to be independent. And the last one, we always ask this, is just teaching that respect for adults, for materials, for their peers. Use that word respect and define it for them. Tell them what it means and start teaching that now. And of course, with that, discourage interrupting. That's a hard thing for kindergartners, especially those who haven't been to preschool. Being able to have to wait their turn and not interrupt their friends or not interrupt their teacher is huge. So start that process now. So do all those things. They're going to be ready for kindergarten.
And we'll be ready if they're not, but don't you? Yeah. I'm taking with me, let them lose. My own children are in trouble tonight. So thank you. I appreciate that one. All right. So at this time, what we're going to do is I'm going to run through some of the additional questions, some of the questions that we received that we were not able to incorporate into the presentation tonight. So we'll go through, we'll exchange, myself and Mrs. Laughlin will answer some, and Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Burns have a question or two, and then jump in at any time. But again, we're going to try to cover some of those questions that have come up, and some of them, understandably, are more logistic questions about sort of the world we live in today, present time things, and they're harder to answer, but we'll give it a go. So I'll read the questions and then turn some of them over and take some myself. First question is, do you believe the setup will be similar to that of this year? Students in their own desks, distance between students, Smaller classes. Do you anticipate the need for mask wearing? I group these together. What will class size, what will social time look like as far as sharing, playing together? And if and when COVID restrictions relax, will toys be brought in the classroom? So I'm kind of grouping those questions. Here's what we know. We're planning for school to be back to normal and as close to normal as possible. We've seen over the course of the year that we've been able to make changes here at Cedar, and we've been able to, we've learned more and more about the virus, as well as we've advanced so much in terms of how we handle things like eating in school, singing in school, physical education in school, handling of materials. Here's what I can say. Our plan is to be students sitting together at tables. Our plan involves students being able to share materials, toys back in the class. We want students working back in groups as much as possible. Some of that is going to require some easing of the restrictions over time, but we're really optimistic that over the next 4, 5, and 6 months that will take place. And we have all of those. So for those who don't know, our students are in desks this year, but our plan is to return those tables. We've been storing them over at the Sylvester School. Our plan is to go back to a more traditional kindergarten look and feel. And if we're not able to go back to tables, our plan is to make sure that those desks are together and we're working in groups and partners next year. The one that is a little hard to answer right now is masks. What I can tell you is this. Our students, they do much better than adults with the masks. They have done a tremendous job of adapting to wearing a mask in school. We certainly don't love it. There are times a little harder to understand and a little harder to understand us. And we do provide plenty of mask breaks and movement breaks. But that's one that is a little bit hard to forecast, is whether or not our students will be in masks. But as far as all the other questions related to what we anticipate, we are going to plan for we're planning to go back in time and have a very normal, typical Cedar kindergarten experience for our students. All right, some of the questions are going to bounce around a little bit. Stay with me. When do we find out if we're full day or half day? Should we assume if whatever we put in for? We have room for all the full day and half day students that register. So if you registered for full day, you'll be in full day. If you registered for half day, you will be in half day. If you decide that you want to change your mind, reach out to us. We can talk through, some of the pluses and minuses or things that might impact or have impacted people's decisions in the past as to whether or not they wanted to go half day or full day. We can help you along. The one thing we don't want to do, if we can avoid it, is change as the school year starts. But if you change your mind in August, we are here. We'll accommodate and make sure that we are there and we can meet you and your family's needs. The length of the day. So we are 8:30 to 2:45 this year. We were 8:30 to 3 o'clock in the past. Working with the other school, the center school, we share transportation, we share buses with the center school. Working with the center school and seeing the dramatic uptick in number of cars in the parking lot, number of cars that pick up. Far less students are on the bus this year. So we had to adjust our end time to accommodate families to get into one of our schools and over to the other school to pick up siblings. And that's why we're at 2:45 now. I think it will be determined whether or not we end at 2:45 or 3 o'clock next year is something that will be determined this summer. Half-day students, 8:30 to 11:30. Now, we start taking cars and buses in at 8:15. The school officially starts at 8:30 every day. Okay. How can I get in touch with the after-school program and what programs are available in terms of over the summer, over school vacations? And this goes back to our FACE program. If you want specific information on the FACE program, you can reach out to us and we can put you in touch with FACE. I would say the best thing to do is to go on the Hanover Public Schools website, get the information and reach out to FACE directly. But if we can help get you that information in any way, we certainly will. They are working on their summer brochure now. I believe it's just about finished. So there's a lot of information that's going to go out to the public about their summer programs, as well as their after school, before school programs that they offer here at the Cedar School. And before I turn over a few of these questions, we have a good one here. Are there bathrooms attached to the classrooms? So the bathrooms are attached to some of our kindergarten classrooms. If the bathroom is not attached to your room, it is directly across the hall in plain view of the classroom. So depending on which side of the hallway you're on, you have a bathroom in your room or it is directly across from your door. When we went to a pre-K K1 school, kindergarten went from 4 really small little rooms that had bathrooms in it to 10 rooms. Well, with 10 rooms, we actually created a few new bathrooms, retrofitted a few adult bathrooms just to make sure we had enough bathrooms that were very, very close proximity, if not already in our kindergarten rooms. So I'm going to turn over now to Mrs. McLaughlin. How much time did they spend outside each day?
Oh, kindergarten has full day kindergarten has 2 recesses. The first one's about 20 minutes and 20 to 25, and then the second one is about 15 minutes. Half day K has 1 recess of about 20 to 25 minutes as well.
Very good. All right, Anastasia and Ellen, will there be kindergarten assessments? And now, when we talk assessments, there are classroom assessments as sort of, we don't try to use the word test too much with kindergarten, but there are those informal and formal classroom assessments. But I was wondering if you could tell us just a little bit about our benchmark assessments.
Of course, thank you so much, Mr. Oates. Of course, when the students start right in the beginning of September, we give them a few weeks and a month to acclimate to the new setting, to get to know their teacher and their peers. So they need a little bit of that time to get used to the new school routine. But starting at the end of September and beginning of October, we do administer a benchmark assessment of early literacy skills, and we use a tool called DIBELS 8. It's short for Dynamic Indicator of Early Literacy Skills. And it's a very quick assessment that we do one-on-one with students. It takes about 4 to 6 minutes to administer, and the teachers do that with their students. And it looks at such skills as ability to name upper and lowercase letters, to sound out when we give them a word, are they able to hear sounds in words? We're looking at those early phonemic awareness skills. And then later, we show them some nonsense words and ask the students to tell us as many sounds as they know as a kind of precursor for later reading. And we do that benchmark assessment about 3 times a year. So usually in the fall, then in January, and then one end of May, beginning of June. And we use that data to help identify students' strengths and weaknesses, and then also helps us to identify which students might need a little bit more support and how we can support those students throughout the day in their reading skills. So I hope that answers your question. Mrs. Burns, am I missing anything?
No, you covered everything, and just as, Mr. Oates had mentioned too, we have our informal assessments. So between those benchmarks, as we're looking at your child's development and how they're progressing with their skills, we might monitor their progress, or we might kind of take a look at, well, how are they doing with their beginning sounds? How are they doing with rhyming? So the teachers will also take a look at those things just to continue to monitor between those benchmarks and help your students grow as readers. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, our next question. We only have a few more. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. For this one is around anybody with health conditions. And I know I mentioned it in there, but I just want to mention it again. We have students with rescue meds. We have students who have a specific health plan. What I would encourage, again, and I'll say it last time I promise, is please reach out to the school nurse. You can set up a time to meet, even to come in and meet. That's the exception right now this year. We don't have as much volunteering in the school as we normally would, or visitors in the school, but our nurse's office is open to parents that want to come in and talk through any concerns, or so earlier, the better. Question around class size and number of sections. Right now, we're planning for 9 or 10 sections. It's most likely going to be 10 sections of kindergarten with a number of around 20 students per class. We've been a little under, and over the course of the year, we do have a lot of move-ins. So we've had years where we've gone up a little bit as well to 21 students in a class. Question about number of teachers. I'm just reading off of some of the questions that are coming in now. There are, that one was answered. There is a teacher and a paraprofessional in each kindergarten class. So each kindergarten class has 2 adults. In addition to that, some classes have special education teachers who come in and work in there, speech and language pathologists who may come into the room and work in the room, occupational therapists, physical therapists, reading specialists. We have a whole team. And some of the classes, depending on the needs of the children in the class, will have additional support who work in the room. If you have siblings in the same grade, are they in the same class or different ones? That is something we would ask you just to reach out to us, and we would sort of talk through on an individual basis. Sometimes when the students are really young, it is best for the students and the family to be together. And sometimes, no matter the age, it's best that they are apart and they have their own room, their own friends, and their own little identities. There are just a couple other questions which popped up on the screen. School ends and starts, again, it's 8:30 start, and it ends for full day at 2:45 this year. Stay tuned, that may go back to 3 p.m. Full day students are on the bus. They do take the school bus with students from grades K up to 4. The slides will be shared. We're actually going to put the whole presentation on our website. So if you're not able to watch it tonight, or if you want to go back to any specific information like the 10 things to get ready, we will put this up on our school website very soon. Other questions that came up, there were a few other questions that I would just encourage anybody to please reach out. Some of the questions we don't cover tonight, things like full day programming versus, mandatory kindergarten. Some of those questions are really great questions. And what I would encourage is funding questions, those type of questions, maybe not for tonight's presentation, but I would encourage you, just reach out if you have questions or if you want to talk through any of those things. Other than that, Ms. McLaughlin, Mrs. Frank, Mrs. Burns, anything I may have missed?
No, we're just so thankful you all have attended tonight. We had a great turnout, and thanks for staying with us this whole hour.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Preschool was like a half hour. I figured this one would be a little quicker, but we just had so much that we wanted to share. And again, we're mindful of the fact that this event in the past would give you the opportunity to come into school and meet people. So we know it's a lot of information. We don't expect you to memorize all of it, any of it, but we do really open invitation to please reach out if we can be of any assistance as we prepare for kindergarten. And congratulations for those of you who this is your first time around. We look forward to welcoming you and your family and your child. And for those of you who have been around and have been down this road time and time again, welcome back or welcome. I just have to say it. We really are preparing to get back to a very normal, typical, wonderful kindergarten experience here at the Cedar School. So we'll see all of you soon. Information will come out regarding screening. That will be the next event for you and your child. And thanks for being here tonight. And we'll see all of you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.